Alright, so let's handle this trig question. Solve equation 6 sine theta is equal to -3. Okay, how do we handle this very basic question? So there are just a few things that I want you to understand. Let me first of all make the first step. So let's ensure that on the left we only remain with sine. So how do we do that? So divide both sides by 6. And then on the left we remain with sine theta, since the 6 will divide. And then on the left, -3/6, which can reduce to sine theta is equal to, divide by 3. On top is going to be a 1. On the bottom it will be twice in 6, yeah. Okay. So sine theta is equal to -1/2. If we didn't have I'm trying to approach this question in a way that some of you may be allowed to use calculators, but some of you not. So in cases where calculators are allowed, how do we handle this question? Okay, so we'll assume it is positive. So we're going to have sine, and then let's introduce a new variable. Let's call it x is equal to half. Now half is the same as 0.5. Now if you grab your calculator and try to find the sine inverse of 0.5, press shift and then press on sine or second, depending on the calculator you have. So what you're going to get is actually 30 degrees. Okay, what you're going to get is 30 degrees. Now this would be the answer if we were dealing with a positive half. Okay, now in this case we're interested in finding the angle that can give us a negative what result. Now you and I know that we've got 4 quadrants. Okay, if you didn't know, please know that today. So all students take calculus. That helps us remember the quadrants. And you understand the first quadrant is from 0 to 90. That's 90 to 180, 180 to 270, and then 270 to 360. Okay, that's quite interesting. So all the angles that we find on the calculator when we're using sine inverse, cosine inverse, tan inverse, they are all between 0 and 90 degrees. That's why the angle we found from a calculator is 30 degrees, which is between 0 and 90 degrees. So we call that a reference. We call these reference angles. They help us find angles in the other quadrants. Okay. So for the angles in the second quadrant where sine is positive, we find them by subtracting from 180. The angles that are after 180, we find them by adding to 180. So if it's before, you subtract, after you add. And then angles in the last quadrant, we subtract from 360. Okay, I thought I needed to mention that. So if we look at our question, they want us to find the answers between 180 and 360. So to find the angle in this quadrant, we have to add to 180. What are we adding? The 30. So one is going to be 180 plus a 30. Then the other one, I said in the last quadrant you subtract from what? From 360. Okay, so that's going to be 330. That's going to be 210. So the question is, are these going to be negative answers or positive answers? These are going to be negatives. Why? Because in this quadrant only tangent is positive. In that quadrant only cosine is positive. So sine is definitely going to be negative. And we only do this, we only introduce a new variable if we've got a negative attached there. If it's positive, whatever you find is the first answer, and then to find the other answer you check where the function is positive. If it was positive there, the first answer was going to be 30 degrees itself, and then the other answer was going to be where sine is positive, it's in the second quadrant, so we would have subtracted from 180 to give us 150 degrees. So to verify your answers, please grab your calculator. The answers we found are 210 and 330 degrees. So attempt to punch sine 210 sine 330 on your calculator, you're going to get negative 1/2 or negative 0.5. I hope I've explained to a point where you've understood this. Now for practice, I want you to pause the video and try this new one out, which is cosine of theta, and then is equal to negative 0.5. Yeah, I want you to find the answers. Find theta. Okay, so let's see in the comment section the answers you're going to find. You should find two answers that are between 0 degrees all the way up to 360 degrees. Okay, the ones that can give us a negative 0.5.